Today, let's tour this 1775 farmhouse and carriage house. At first glance, you might think it looks very practical and restrained and typical colonial, but wait until you get to see its gazebo. This property in Barnstead, New Hampshire is all about business in the front and party in the back. Do you see the gazebo there behind the barn? It was a boathouse built in 1860, but now it's all ready for entertaining. I'll show you how I would decorate it and the farmhouse if it were mine. That whole business in the front, party in the back idea is true of the house, not just the gazebo. Because when you enter the house through the back porch entrance, you're greeted by an accordion player welcoming you back. Willkommen to Baka. If it were mine, I'd keep that fun-loving feeling in the kitchen. With this design by Mark D. Sykes, it has a springtime on the farm mood. I love the whimsy of the vent hood and the wallpaper, and I think the colors would go well with that accordion player because, of course, I'm keeping the accordion player. Did you notice the colors, too, are very similar to the front door colors? Now, right next door, the dining room would also get a makeover with this design by Mark Sykes. It probably broke the internet when it first came out because it is just so cute. The colors would go well with the accordion player mural, and it still has that springtime on the farm mood we want. So meanwhile, this small living room, which could be a study in the front of the house, could have a little more restraint like this because it's in the front. Business in the front. It does have blue stripes though, like the Mark Sykes design. And this one is by Bruce Showstack. And I think Bruce and I share an affinity for cute chairs. Now this is the formal living room on the other side of the foyer. So for it, I found this design by O'Brien and Muse. And now it's totally ready to impress your guests. It also has blue and white like the Mark Sykes design, and it has that pretty spring green color. Here's the floor plan that show how those four rooms connect. So that brings us here to the foyer, and it has steps down to the basement level. And unfortunately, this is the only shot that the real estate listing had of the foyer. It's not a very good one, but it does make you think that now it needs some blue and white stripes there. And that brings us to the second floor. The house has 4 bedrooms and 1 bathroom in 2,560 square feet. And if the thought of 4 bedrooms sharing 1 bathroom makes you a little nervous, just keep watching, because the house has plenty of space to keep the party going. The carriage house attached to the main house dates from 1810, and it was brought from Newmarket, about 35 miles away, reconstructed, and then attached to the main house. And that was in 1993, but it looks like it's always been there. Same with the barn. It wasn't always there. This was added in 1908. And remember, the house was built in 1775. So they brought this barn and re-raised it here. Next, they added this bunkhouse in 1935. It was originally built in 1880, and it might have been a one-room schoolhouse at some point. It sure looks like one. And that brings us back to the gazebo, which they moved that from Wolfboro, which is about 30 minutes north of Barnstead. And it was moved here in 1974. I like it just the way it is, but we could ramp up that party in the back feeling with this inspiration design. It's by Christopher Maya, and it has those loop chairs that were first used by Frances Elkins. She was architect David Adler's sister, but she was equally famous in her own right as a designer. I think the colors and the overall springtime vibe just add that fresh mood that I wanted in the house too. And it's just fun to look at. There's plenty of room to add more buildings for more parties because the property spans 104 acres. It has views of the Belknap Mountain Range and Cogswell Mountain. It's also a short distance from Upper Suncook Lake. Back in the day was Suncook Pond. That gives us a nice segue to Mr. If It Were Mine's map, which shows the Edgerly Selin property right there near Suncook Pond. There it is. That wasn't me on accordion, by the way. So those New Englanders weren't very chatty about the history of the property, though, because it was listed as a state historic site in 2003, but they just named it as the Selin Farm and didn't mention Edgerly, even though he was the first owner of it. They did have this photo of it, but you can tell it was after 1993 because it has the carriage house. They did say that, according to the state of New Hampshire, the farm is vulnerable to earthquakes and human-caused hazards, so that might be why you have to sign a waiver to tour the barn. So, as for Thomas Edgerly, the home's original owner, he was a constable and a selectman who helped plan Barnstead's roads and establish the meeting house, and apparently he also determined the reward for animal hides. So, if you have various interests like his and would like various outbuildings in which to pursue them, this is the house for you. And that's a wrap for the Edgerly Selin House. Stay tuned to this channel if you're a fan of the PBS series All Creatures Great and Small, because this week I'll be showing you how I'm decorating my dollhouse and room box to look like the sets from the show. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and for more content, visit my website, ifitweremine.com.